The Silent Throne, the secret that could break the whispers of royal love. The princess' secret promiseth stars of Vorthic Prime shone like diamonds. Against the dark canvas of space, Ambassador Elena Vasquez pressed her face against the small window of the human transport ship, watching the crystalline planet grow larger with each passing moment. Her heart beat faster as she saw the magnificent structures that covered the planet's surface. They looked like giant ice sculptures, but they were actually made of a special crystal that the Vorthaki people had grown over thousands of years. First time seeing their world, asked Captain Marcus Reed, joining Elena at the window. He was a tall man with graying hair and kind eyes that had seen many strange worlds during his years in space. Yes, Elena replied, her voice filled with wonder. The reports didn't do it justice. Look at those towers. They must be miles high. Captain Reed nodded. The Vorthaki are master builders. They've been working on this city for over 10,000 years. Each generation adds more to it. Ellen turned away from the window and looked at her small team of diplomats. There were only 5 humans on the ship, but they carried the hopes of all humanity. This was the first time humans had been invited to visit the capital of the Vorthaki Empire. The Empire ruled over hundreds of worlds and dozens of different alien species. If humans could make friends with the Vorthaki, it would change everything for Earth and her colonies. Remember, Elena said to her team, we are here to learn about their culture and to show them that humans can be trusted. The Vorthaki are very different from us. They speak with their minds, not their voices. They value control and discipline. Above all else, we must be respectful. Dr. Sarah Chen, the team's cultural expert, adjusted her glasses nervously. Their telepathic abilities are incredible. Most species find it overwhelming to be around them. The constant mental chatter can drive visitors crazy within hours. That's why we're here, Elena said with confidence. Early tests showed that humans seem to be naturally resistant to their telepathic influence. We can think clearly even when surrounded by their mental voices. The ship shuddered gently as it entered the planet's atmosphere. Through the window, Elena could see flying vehicles moving between the crystal towers like schools of fish. The vehicles were smooth and beautiful, making no sound as they glided through the air. Incoming transmission, announced the ship's computer. The Palace of Whispers is requesting permission to guide your landing. Tell them we accept their guidance, Elena said suddenly. The ship changed course without anyone touching the controls. Elena felt a strange tingling sensation in her mind, like someone was trying to whisper to her from far away. But the whisper was so faint she could barely notice it. Her teammates looked uncomfortable, but they seemed to be handling it better than expected. That's their traffic control system, Dr. Chen explained. They're guiding our ship telepathically. Most alien visitors need special mental shields to protect themselves, but we seem to be naturally immune. The ship landed softly on a platform made of smooth crystal. Elena looked out and saw a group of Vorthaki waiting for them. They were tall and graceful, with pale blue skin that seemed to glow softly. Their eyes were large and silver, and they wore flowing robes that moved like water in the wind. The most impressive thing about them was how they moved together, like dancers who had practiced the same routine for years. That's the welcome committee, Captain Reed said. The tall one in the center must be someone important. Look at the golden patterns on her robes. Elena picked up her diplomatic case and walked toward the ship's exit. Her team followed close behind. As the door opened, she felt a rush of cool air that smelled like flowers and rain. The crystal platform felt warm under her feet, and she could hear a soft humming sound coming from the buildings around them. The Vorthaki delegation approached them slowly. The leader was indeed someone very important, Princess Zirathel, heir to the Silent Throne. She was beautiful in an otherworldly way, with silver hair that seemed to float around her head and eyes that held the wisdom of centuries. Welcome, humans of Earth, Princess Zirathel said, but her lips didn't move. Her voice appeared directly in their minds, clear and musical. I am Princess Zirathel. My father, Emperor Vorthanak, has sent me to greet you and guide you to the palace. Elena stepped forward and bowed respectfully. Your Highness, I'm Ambassador Elena Vasquez. On behalf of humanity, I thank you for this historic opportunity." As Elena spoke, she noticed something interesting. The other Vorthaki were whispering to each other with their minds, but she could only hear faint murmurs. It was like being in a crowded restaurant where everyone was talking quietly at distant tables. Princess Zirathel raised her hand, and the mental whispers stopped immediately. "You will follow me to the palace. There you will meet the High Council and learn about our ways. But first, there is a ceremony that must be performed." She walked toward Elena with fluid grace. "It is traditional for honored guests to receive the touch of welcome. This will allow you to better understand our thoughts and feelings during your stay." The princess extended her hand toward Elena. Elena had been briefed about this ceremony, but she wasn't sure what to expect. She reached out and took the princess's hand in hers. The moment their skin touched, something extraordinary happened. Elena felt a surge of emotions that weren't her own: curiosity, loneliness, and a deep sadness that seemed to have been buried for a very long time. But even more surprising was what happened to Princess Zirathel. The princess's silver eyes widened in shock. For the first time in her life, she felt human emotions directly: Elena's warmth, her excitement about the meeting, her genuine desire to build friendship between their peoples, and her natural compassion for others. The other Vorthaki noticed the princess's reaction. Immediately, mental whispers began flying between them, full of concern and confusion. Princess Zirathel quickly pulled her hand away, but the damage was done. She had felt something that her people had taught her was primitive and dangerous, raw, uncontrolled. Emotion. "The ceremony is complete," Princess Zirathel said, but her mental voice was shaky. "Please, follow me to the palace." As they walked across the crystal platform toward a beautiful flying vehicle, Elena noticed that the princess kept glancing at her with a mixture of fear and fascination. The other Vorthaki maintained their perfect discipline, but Elena could sense their unease. What Elena didn't know was that this simple touch had changed everything. Princess Zirathel had spent her entire life learning to suppress emotions, to think with perfect logic and control. But in that brief moment, she had experienced something her people had forgotten: the power and beauty of feeling deeply. As their vehicle rose into the air and headed toward the magnificent palace of whispers, Princess Zirathel found herself thinking about the human ambassador in ways she had never thought about anyone before. The seed of something dangerous and wonderful had been planted, and it would soon grow into something that could change the fate of the entire galaxy. 3 days had passed since the humans arrived at the Palace of Whispers. Elena stood in her guest quarters, looking out at the crystal gardens that stretched beyond her window. The flowers in the garden were unlike anything on Earth. They glowed with soft colors and seemed to respond to the emotions of people nearby. "The negotiations are going well," Dr. Chen said as she entered Elena's room. "The trade agreements look promising, but I've noticed something strange about the princess." Elena turned from the window. "What do you mean?" "She keeps watching you during the meetings, and yesterday, when you were talking about human cooperation, I saw her touch her chest like she was feeling something painful." Elena had noticed it too. Princess Zirathel seemed different since their first meeting. During the formal discussions with the High Council, the princess would often stare at Elena with those silver eyes, as if she was trying to solve a difficult puzzle. "Maybe she's just curious about humans," Elena suggested, but she knew it was more than that. That evening, Elena was walking through the palace corridors when she heard a soft sound coming from a side chamber. She followed the sound and found Princess Zirathel sitting alone in a small room filled with strange musical instruments. The princess was touching one of the instruments, and it was making beautiful, sad music. "Your Highness," Elena said softly, "I'm sorry to disturb you." Princess Zirathel looked up quickly, her silver eyes wide with surprise. "Ambassador Vasquez, you should not be here. This is a private chamber. I heard the music and followed. It's beautiful, but it sounds so sad." The princess stood up and moved away from the instrument. "Sadness is not something my people are supposed to feel. We are taught to control such emotions from childhood." Elena stepped closer. But you are feeling it, aren't you? For a moment, Princess Zirathel said nothing. Then, in a voice so quiet Elena almost missed it, she said, yes. Ever since we touched hands, I have been feeling things I do not understand. My teachers say emotions make us weak, but what I felt from you was not weakness, it was strength. Emotions can be both, Elena said gently. They can hurt us, but they also help us care for others. They help us love and protect the people who matter to us. Love. Princess Zirathel repeated the word like she was tasting something new. This is another human concept I do not understand. My people mate for political reasons or to produce strong offspring. But you speak of love as if it is something more. Elena smiled. Love is when you care about someone so much that their happiness becomes as important as your own. When you would sacrifice anything to protect them. When just being near them makes you feel complete. Princess Zirathel's eyes filled with something Elena had never seen in a Vorthaki before, tears. I think I may be beginning to understand. Over the following days, Princess Zirathel began visiting Elena in secret. She would come to Elena's quarters late at night, when the palace was quiet and the mental chatter of the court was at its lowest. During these visits, Elena taught her about human emotions and experiences. Tell me about friendship, Princess Zirathel said one night as they sat together in Elena's room. Friends are people who choose to care about each other, Elena explained. They support each other through difficult times and celebrate together during happy times. They trust each other with their deepest secrets. But why would someone choose to care about another person if they gain nothing from it? Elena laughed softly. Because caring about others makes us feel good. It gives our lives meaning. When we help our friends, we feel happy. When they succeed, we feel proud. When they hurt, we want to help them feel better. Princess Zirathel was quiet for a long moment. I think I would like to have a friend. You do have one, Elena said, reaching out to touch the princess's hand. Me. The princess looked down at their joined hands. But I am Vorthaki and you are human. We are so different. Differences make friendships stronger, Elena said. We can learn from each other. As the nights passed, Princess Zirathel began to change. She started to smile, something that shocked the palace servants. She began to ask questions about art and music and stories. Elena told her about human literature and movies, about heroes who saved the day not through power but through love and sacrifice. But their secret meetings were not as secret as they thought. High Counselor Murthax, the Emperor's chief advisor, had been watching the princess carefully. He was an old Vorthaki with dark blue skin and cold, calculating eyes. He had served the Empire for centuries and believed that any change was dangerous. One night, Murthax was walking through the palace when he saw Princess Zirathel leaving Elena's quarters. He followed her to her own rooms and used his powerful telepathic abilities to probe her mind. While she slept, what he found horrified him. The princess's mind was full of human emotions, joy, sadness, hope, love, and curiosity. Even worse, she was beginning to question the Empire's methods of control. She was wondering if the other species under Vorthaki rule might be happier if they were free to feel emotions. But Murthax discovered something even more dangerous. As he probed deeper into the princess's memories of her conversations with Elena, he realized that the humans possessed a unique gift. Not only were they immune to Vorthaki telepathic control, but their presence actually disrupted the telepathic networks that held the Empire together. The next morning, Murthax requested a private meeting with Emperor Vorthanak. The Emperor was an ancient Vorthaki who had ruled for over 1,000 years. His mind was like a steel trap, cold and perfectly controlled. My Emperor, Murthax, said, bowing deeply, I have discovered something troubling about our human guests. Speak. The Emperor commanded. The humans are not just immune to our telepathic influence, they actively disrupt it. If this becomes known to the other species in our empire, it could cause widespread rebellion. Every world we control through mental domination could rise up against us. The Emperor's silver eyes narrowed. Are you certain of this? Yes, my Emperor. And there's worse news. Your daughter has been contaminated by human emotions. She is beginning to question our methods of rule." The emperor was silent for a long moment. Then he spoke with a voice like ice. "The humans cannot be allowed to leave this planet. They must be eliminated before they can spread their influence to other worlds." "What about the princess?" "She will be taken to the purification chambers. Her mind will be cleansed of these dangerous emotions. She will become a proper Vorthaki heir once again." Murthax smiled coldly. "And if she resists? Then she will remain in the chambers until she learns to obey. The Empire is more important than any individual, even my daughter." Neither of them knew that Princess Zirathel had been listening to their conversation through a hidden passage in the palace walls. She had learned about these secret passages from Elena, who had discovered them during her explorations of the palace. As she listened to her father and Murthak's plan to destroy the humans and imprison her, Princess Zirathel felt something she had never experienced before: rage. But it was not the cold, calculating anger of the Vorthaki. It was hot, passionate, and filled with the desire to protect the people she had come to care about. For the first time in her life, Princess Zirathel was ready to fight for something she believed in. She was ready to fight for her friends, for freedom, and for the right to feel emotions. The human influence had awakened something in her that her people had tried to suppress for thousands of years. The battle for the fate of the galaxy was about to begin. Princess Zirathel ran through the crystal corridors of the palace, her heart beating faster than it ever had before. She had to warn Elena about her father's plan, but she also had to be careful. The palace was full of telepathic monitors who watched for any signs of rebellion or dangerous thoughts. She found Elena in the library, reading about Vorthaki history. The human ambassador looked up as the princess entered, and immediately noticed the fear in her silver eyes. "Zirathel, what's wrong?" Elena asked, using the princess's name without the formal title for the first time. "We cannot speak here." The princess whispered, "Follow me." She led Elena through a hidden passage behind one of the library's crystal walls. The passage was narrow and dark, but it led to a small chamber deep beneath the palace. Here, the thick crystal walls blocked most telepathic signals. "Elena," Princess Zirathel said, her voice shaking, "you and your people are in great danger. My father plans to kill all of you before you can leave this planet." Elena's face went pale. "What? But why? The negotiations have been going well." "Because you are more dangerous than you know," the princess explained. "Your natural immunity to our telepathic control is not just a defense. It actually disrupts our mental networks. If the other species in our empire learn about this, they might rebel against us." Elena sat down heavily on a crystal bench. "So we're trapped here." "Not if I can help it," Princess Zirathel said with determination. "I will not let them hurt you or your friends. I promise you that." Elena looked up at her. "But what can you do? You're just one person against an entire empire." "I am the heir to the Silent Throne," the princess said. "I have powers and knowledge that others do not, and I have something else now. I have learned to feel. That gives me strength my people do not understand." Elena reached out and took the princess's hand. "I can't let you risk everything for us. If your father discovers what you're doing, he already knows that I have been changed by your influence," Princess Zirathel said sadly. "He plans to send me to the purification chambers." "What are those?" "Places where they take Vorthaki who have developed unwanted emotions or thoughts. They use machines to erase the feelings from our minds. Many who enter never come out the same. Some never come out at all." Elena squeezed the princess's hand. "Then we need to get you out of here too. Come with us when we escape, princess." Zirathel smiled sadly. "I cannot leave my people, Elena. They have been living without emotions for so long that they have forgotten what it means to truly live. Someone must stay to help them remember. But you'll be captured. You'll be sent to those chambers. Perhaps, but I made you a promise, and I will keep it. I will find a way to save you and your team." The next morning, Princess Zirathel did not appear at the usual council meeting. Elena and her team waited in the Great Hall, but only High Counselor Murthax and other court officials were present. "Where is Princess Zirathel?" Elena asked. "The princess has fallen ill," Murthax replied, his mental voice cold and emotionless. She will not be able to continue with the negotiations. I will be handling all discussions from now on. Elena knew this was a lie, but she couldn't say anything without revealing that she knew about the princess's situation. She tried to act normal during the meeting, but her heart was heavy with worry. That evening, Elena was in her quarters when she heard a soft tapping at her window. She opened it to find a small, glowing creature that looked like a cross between a bird and a butterfly. It was carrying a tiny crystal in its claws. When Elena touched the crystal, she heard Princess Zirathel's voice. Elena, I'm being held in the West Tower. Do not try to rescue me. Instead, go to the old servant passages. Beneath the palace, there you will find someone who can help you. Elena quickly gathered her team and told them about the message. Dr. Chen was worried, but Captain Ri was ready for action. We need to find those passages, he said. If the princess says there's someone who can help us, we have to try. They waited until the middle of the night, when the palace was quiet. Using the maps Elena had made during her explorations, they found their way to the old servant areas beneath the main palace. These tunnels were ancient, built long before the current crystal structures above. As they moved through the dark passages, they heard voices ahead. Elena led her team carefully toward the sound, and they discovered something amazing. In a large underground chamber, dozens of Vorthaki were gathered together. But these Vorthaki were different from the ones in the palace. Above, they were laughing, crying, and showing emotions that Elena had never seen from their species before. Welcome, humans, said an old Vorthaki woman with kind eyes. I'm Kethara, and these are my friends. We have been waiting for you. Who are you? Elena asked. We are the Forgotten, Kethara explained. We are Vorthaki who refuse to give up our emotions. Some of us escaped from the purification chambers. Others fled before we could be captured. We have been hiding down here for years, keeping alive the old ways of our people. Elena looked around at the group. There were artists, musicians, teachers, and scientists, all people who had been considered dangerous by the Empire, because they dared to feel. Princess Zirathel sent us a message, Kethara continued. She told us that you humans have awakened something in her that we thought was lost forever. She asked us to help you escape. But how? Dr. Chen asked. The palace is surrounded by guards, and all the ships are controlled by telepathic systems. There's a way, said a young Vorthaki man named Velter. We have been planning an escape for years. We know about secret passages that lead to the old mining tunnels. These tunnels connect to the spaceport. But we won't just run away. Elena said firmly, we can't leave the princess behind. She knew you would say that. Kethara smiled. She has a plan. Tomorrow night, during the Festival of Silent Stars, she will create a distraction. The festival is the one time when all the court's attention is focused on the ceremonial chambers. That's when we will rescue her. It's too dangerous, Captain Reed protested. They'll be expecting something. The princess is willing to risk everything to save us. Elena said, the least we can do is try to save her too. Over the next day, the Forgotten helped Elena and her team prepare for the rescue. They learned about the palace's security systems, the guard rotations, and the layout of the purification chambers. Elena was amazed by how organized and brave these hidden Vorthaki were. We have been waiting for something like this for so long, Kethara explained. The princess's awakening gives us hope that our people can change. If we can save her, she might be able to help us save our entire species. As the Festival of Silent Stars began, Elena looked up at the crystal towers of the palace. Somewhere up there, Princess Zirathel was preparing to risk everything for people she had known for only a few days. Elena felt proud to call such a brave person her friend. The rescue mission was about to begin, and Elena knew that no matter what happened, their friendship had already changed the course of history. The age of the Silent Throne was coming to an end, and a new age of feeling and freedom was about to begin. The Festival of Silent Stars filled the palace with an eerie beauty. Thousands of crystal lights floated through the air like fallen stars, casting rainbow colors on the walls. All the important Vorthaki nobles were gathered in the great ceremonial chamber, their minds focused on the ancient ritual that celebrated their empire's power. Elena crouched in the shadows of the West Tower with Kethara and 3 other Forgotten. Through a small crystal window, they could see the purification chambers where Princess Zirathel was being held. The chambers looked like giant glass eggs, each one glowing with a soft, cold light. There, Kethara pointed to one of the chambers. The princess is in the center unit. The machines have been working on her mind for 2 days now. Elena's heart ached as she saw her friend inside the chamber. Princess Zirathel was floating in a strange blue liquid, with thin wires attached to her head. Her silver eyes were closed, but Elena could see that she was fighting against the machine's influence. "How do we get her out?" Elena whispered. "The chambers are controlled by a central computer," explained Velter, who had once been a palace engineer before escaping. "If we can reach the control room, we can shut down her chamber and free her. But there are guards everywhere," Captain Reed pointed out. He was hiding with Dr. Chen and the other humans in a different part of the tower. "Not everywhere." Kethara smiled. "The guards are all watching the festival. They think we are too afraid to try anything during such an important ceremony." Elena activated the small communication device that connected her to her team. "Are you ready?" "Ready," came Captain Reed's voice. "We'll create a distraction at the main entrance while you go for the princess. Be careful." Elena said, "If this goes wrong, we all pay the price." Elena and the Forgotten moved silently through the tower's corridors. The walls here were different from the rest of the palace. They were covered with strange symbols that seemed to absorb light instead of reflecting it. These were the chambers where the Empire's enemies were broken and remade. As they approached the control room, Elena felt that familiar tingling sensation in her mind. The telepathic monitoring systems were trying to scan her thoughts, but as always, her human mind resisted their influence. "Amazing," whispered one of the Forgotten. "The scanners cannot read you at all. It's like you don't exist to them." Elena used this advantage to slip past the automatic security systems. The control room was filled with complex machinery that hummed with power. Thousands of small lights blinked on and off, each one representing a different function of the purification chambers. "Which one controls the princess's chamber?" Elena asked. Velter studied the controls carefully. "This one," he said, pointing to a panel covered with silver switches. "But if we shut it down wrong, the shock could damage her mind permanently. Then we do it right," Elena said with determination. Meanwhile, in the ceremonial chamber, something unexpected was happening. Princess Zirathel had not been as helpless as her captors thought. The human emotions she had learned were stronger than the machines that tried to erase them. Love, friendship, and hope proved to be more powerful than fear and control. As the purification chamber tried to steal her feelings, Princess Zirathel fought back. She remembered Elena's words about courage and sacrifice. She remembered the warmth of human friendship and the joy of feeling truly alive. These memories gave her strength to resist the machine's influence. But more than that, she discovered something amazing about her own telepathic abilities. The human emotions had changed her, making her telepathic powers stronger and different. Instead of just controlling minds, she could now share feelings and experiences. High Counselor Murthax was leading the festival ceremony when he suddenly felt something he had never experienced before, a wave of pure emotion washing over his mind. Joy, love, hope, and wonder flooded through the ceremonial chamber as Princess Zirathel broadcast her feelings to everyone present. "What is happening?" Murthax demanded, his cold composure cracking for the first time in centuries. The other nobles looked around in confusion as they felt emotions they had forgotten existed. Some began to cry, others started to laugh, a few fell to their knees as they remembered what it felt like to truly care about something. "The princess," one of the nobles gasped, "she's doing something to us." In the control room, Elena and Velter were working frantically to shut down the princess's chamber. "Almost there," Velter said as his fingers flew over the controls. "Just a few more seconds." Suddenly, alarms began blaring throughout the palace. Red lights flashed as the security systems detected the emotional broadcast coming from the purification chambers. "They know what we're doing," Kethara said. "We need to hurry." Elena heard the sound of running footsteps in the corridor outside. Guards were coming. She grabbed one of the control panels and began pulling wires, using her human intuition to figure out which connections to break. Elena, no, Vilter shouted. You could kill her. Trust me, Elena said, her hand steady despite the danger. I know my friend. She's stronger than they think. The chamber containing Princess Zirathel suddenly went dark. The blue liquid drained away, and the princess fell to the floor of the chamber, gasping for breath. But she was alive, and the light of intelligence still shone in her silver eyes. The guards are here, Cathar warned. The door to the control room burst open, and a dozen Vorthaki guards rushed in. But something was wrong with them. Their usually perfect discipline was broken. Some were crying, others were laughing, and all of them looked confused and frightened. What's happening to us? One of the guards asked, his telepathic voice filled with wonder instead of authority. You're feeling, Elena said simply. For the first time in your lives, you're really feeling. Princess Zirathel stumbled into the control room, weak from her ordeal but determined to help her friends. Elena, she said, her voice hoarse but filled with joy. You came for me. I promised I would, Elena replied, helping her friend stand. The emotional broadcast. Princess Zirathel said, I can feel it spreading through the palace. My people are remembering what they lost. Indeed, throughout the palace, centuries of emotional suppression were breaking down. Servants were hugging each other for the first time in their lives. Guards were putting down their weapons and talking about their fears and dreams. Even some of the nobles were questioning the cold, harsh system they had served for so long. But the most amazing thing was happening beyond the palace walls. The princess's telepathic broadcast was so powerful that it reached the other species living on the planet. Aliens who had been mentally enslaved for generations suddenly found their minds clearing. They could think freely for the first time in their lives. Do you realize what you've done? Cathar asked the princess with awe. I've given them back their hearts. Princess Zirathel replied. Now they can choose their own destiny. Elena looked out through the control room window at the palace below. She could see crowds of different alien species gathering in the courtyards. No longer under Vorthaki mental control. They were talking, laughing, and planning together, free beings working toward a common goal. The revolution has begun, she said softly. Yes, Princess Zirathel agreed, and it's only the beginning. The telepathic networks that control our entire empire are breaking down. Every world we rule is about to discover what freedom feels like. But Elena knew that the hardest part was still ahead. Emperor Vorthanak would not give up his power easily. The final battle for the future of the galaxy was about to begin, and everything would depend on whether the power of emotion could overcome the cold logic of tyranny. The sound of breaking crystal echoed through the palace as Emperor Vorthanak's rage shook the very foundations of his empire. Reports were coming in from across the galaxy. World after world was breaking free from Vorthaki mental control. Species that had been enslaved for thousands of years were rising up, their minds finally clear and their spirits finally free. This cannot be happening, the Emperor said, his telepathic voice like ice breaking in a storm. 1,000 years of perfect order destroyed by primitive emotions. High Counselor Murthak stood before his master, his usual confidence shattered. My Emperor, the rebellion is spreading faster than we can stop it. The princess's emotional broadcast has reached 17 star systems. Our mental control networks are failing everywhere. Then we use the final option, Emperor Vorthanak declared, his silver eyes blazing with cold fury. Prepare the mind shatter. Murthak's face went pale. My Emperor, that weapon has not been used for 3,000 years. It was sealed away because it was too dangerous. These are dangerous times, the Emperor replied. The mind shatter will destroy every conscious thought in this galaxy except my own. I will rebuild the empire from nothing, and this time I will make sure emotions are completely eliminated from all species. Elena and Princess Zirathel were in the palace's central courtyard, helping to organize the growing rebellion. Aliens of dozens of different species were working together, planning how to spread their freedom to other worlds. The sight filled Elena's heart with hope. I never imagined this could happen so quickly, Princess Zirathel said, watching a group of former slaves teaching each other about art and music. Your people's gift for emotion has awakened something beautiful in all of us. Elena smiled. It's not just our gift anymore. It belongs to everyone now. Suddenly, the ground began to shake. Deep beneath the palace, ancient machines were coming to life. A low, terrible humming sound filled the air, and everyone in the courtyard felt a pressure building in their minds. What is that? Elena asked. Princess Zirathel's eyes widened in terror. The mind shatter. It's a weapon from the old days. Before the Empire learned to control minds gradually, it destroys all thoughts except the one controlling it. Can we stop it? I don't know. No one has tried for thousands of years. Cathar ran up to them, her face filled with fear. Princess, the weapon is being activated from the throne room. Your father is preparing to use it. Elena grabbed Princess Zirathel's hand. We have to try to stop him. If that weapon works, everyone in the galaxy will become mindless servants. But how can we fight something like that? The princess asked. Together, Elena said simply, you taught me that Vorthaki telepathy is based on control and dominance. But human emotion is based on connection and sharing. Maybe if we combine them, we can turn the weapon against the system that created it. Princess Zirathel looked into Elena's eyes and saw the same determination that had first attracted her to humanity. It's worth trying. Even if we fail, we'll have fought for something we believe in. They ran through the palace corridors, past confused nobles and frightened servants. The humming sound was getting louder, and Elena could feel it pressing against her mind like a giant hand trying to squeeze her thoughts. The throne room was a massive chamber at the very heart of the palace. The silent throne itself was carved from a single piece of black crystal, and it seemed to absorb all light and sound. Emperor Vorthanak sat on the throne, his hands pressed against crystal controls that had been built into the armrests. Father, stop. Princess Zirathel called out as they entered the room. The emperor looked up, his ancient face twisted with rage. Daughter, you have chosen your path. You would rather destroy our empire than give up your primitive emotions. I would rather save our people than rule over slaves. The princess replied bravely, Our people? The emperor laughed coldly. Our people are nothing without our guidance. They are children who need to be controlled. The other species are even less. They are animals that exist only to serve us. Elena stepped forward. You're wrong. Every species has value. Every person deserves the right to think and feel freely. Silence. Human Emperor Vorthanak's telepathic voice was like thunder. You have poisoned my daughter's mind, but you will not destroy my empire. The emperor pressed his hands deeper into the crystal controls. The mind shatter weapon, hidden deep beneath the palace, began to charge with enormous power. Elena could feel it building, a wave of mental energy that would sweep across the galaxy, destroying every independent thought. Elena, Princess Zirathel said urgently, the weapon draws its power from the Emperor's mind. If we can connect to him while he's using it, we might be able to redirect the energy. But won't that destroy us too? Not if we're protected by human emotional strength. Your people's resistance to mental control might be enough to shield us. Elena nodded. What do we do? Hold my hand and think about everything that makes you human. Think about love, friendship, hope, and courage. Think about all the people we're trying to save. Elena grasped Princess Zirathel's hand tightly. Together, they reached out with their minds toward the Emperor. Elena felt the princess's telepathic abilities flowing through her. But instead of trying to control or dominate, they were trying to connect and share. The Emperor felt their mental touch and tried to push them away. You cannot stop me, he roared. I am the master of 1,000 worlds. You are the slave of your own fear. Princess Zirathel replied, You're so afraid of losing control that you've forgotten what it means to truly live. Elena poured all her human emotions into the connection, her love for her friends, her hope for the future, her courage in the face of danger, and her deep compassion for all living beings. These feelings flowed through Princess Zirathel's telepathic abilities and into the mind shatter weapon itself. The weapon, designed to destroy independent thought, suddenly found itself flooded with the most independent thoughts of all human emotions. Instead of crushing minds, it began to awaken them. Instead of creating slaves, it started to create free beings. "What are you doing?" the Emperor gasped as he felt his control slipping away. "We're giving everyone what you tried to take away," Elena said. "We're giving them the right to feel." The wave of energy that burst from the mind-shatter weapon was unlike anything the galaxy had ever experienced. It carried Elena's emotions and Princess Zirathel newfound understanding of freedom to every corner of the Empire, on a million worlds, in countless species. Minds that had been controlled for generations suddenly remembered what it felt like to be truly alive. Emperor Vorthanak screamed as the weapon's power turned against him. For the first time in 1,000 years, he felt the emotions he had suppressed: loneliness, fear, and deep, terrible sadness. The weight of all the suffering he had caused crashed down on him at once. I didn't know," he whispered, tears streaming down his ancient face. "I didn't know what I was taking from them." The silent throne cracked and crumbled as the Emperor's mental control over the palace finally broke. But instead of chaos, there was celebration. Throughout the galaxy, species that had been enemies for centuries began to work together. The artificial barriers that had kept them apart were gone, replaced by genuine understanding and cooperation. Princess Zirathel helped her father down from the ruined throne. "It's not too late," she said gently. "We can build something better." Together, Elena looked around the throne room, which was now filled with people of all species working together to plan their new future. Humans, Vorthaki, and dozens of other aliens were sharing ideas and dreams, their differences making them stronger instead of driving them apart. "What happens now?" Elena asked. "Now we learn," Princess Zirathel said, smiling. "We learn how to live together as equals instead of rulers and servants. We learn how to solve problems through cooperation instead of control. We learn how to build a galaxy where everyone can be free." 6 months later, Elena stood in the same courtyard where the rebellion had begun. But everything had changed. The palace was no longer a symbol of oppression. It had become a meeting place, where representatives from hundreds of worlds came to work together. Princess Zirathel, now simply called Zirathel, approached Elena with a group of young beings from different species. "Elena, I want you to meet our first class of Harmony Guides. They're learning to help their people adjust to emotional freedom." Elena smiled as she looked at the diverse group. "How are they doing?" "Better than we hoped," Zirathel replied. "It turns out that most species are naturally good at cooperation and caring. They just needed the chance to remember. And your father? He's working with the healing councils, trying to undo the damage caused by the old empire. He says it will take lifetimes to repair all the harm that was done, but he's committed to trying." Elena nodded. "And what about you? Are you ready to lead this new galaxy?" Zirathel laughed, a sound that would have been impossible under the old system. "I'm not leading anything. We're all leading together. That's what you humans taught us, that the best leadership comes from working together, not from controlling others." As they watched the sunset paint the crystal city in warm colors, Elena felt a deep satisfaction. Humanity,